If you want to see more videos and interviews like this from influential people in tech, finance, and sports, subscribe to the channel and make sure you hit the bell to be alerted. And go a step further and join the YouTube and membership area for early releases of videos like this. I'm out of here. Ha! Yeah, it's your boy Crypto Blood, and welcome to another Kicking It session. Today I've got Eric Sullivan. He is an autonomous donation engine co-creator, actually. We're going to talk about his, I guess you would call it a nonprofit, CoolADE. Talk about what he's doing over there, and we're going to talk about the gig economy and the widening of the wealth gap and how he's trying to help in tightening that. Eric Sullivan, what's good, brother? Thanks for joining on today.
Hey, thanks for having me, buddy.
Why Rage Against Machine?
Oh, fuck the G-Ride. I want the machines that are making them. That was one of the best lyrics I had ever heard. I mean, as a, listening to hip hop at a young age and stuff.
Yeah.
They weren't saying anything a whole lot. And then Rage Against the Machine came out, and Zach De La Rocha, he knows exactly what to say, in my opinion.
Hey, man, for all my subscribers out there, I used to be a Rage Against the Machine fan. Like, I love the whole rap rock mix. I used to dig it, man. Actually, this is the first time I've ever said this. I used to actually skate. I used to aggressive skate, rollerblade.
Nice.
Yeah, so it was kind of that whole movement and stuff. I was listening to a little hip rock, a little alternative rock, and rage and rap and all that mixed together, man. So that's what's up, man. Thanks for joining me today. Tell us a little bit about yourself, man. You reached out to me. You wanted to talk about a variety of things, and I'll just let you kind of give the audience your background.
Yeah, background, I grew up on a farm not too far away from where you are, actually, one state over. And
Ohio?
What's that?
Ohio?
Oh, no, Wisconsin.
Oh, Wisconsin. Okay.
Yeah, so it didn't take me long to, just by listening to adults talk about the local and state and federal government level policies that were affecting us in our everyday life, to understand that politics is something we should all pay attention to. Right. It's not something to get rabid about, but it's definitely something to see where it's affecting your life. And I learned that at a really young age, and it just is something that I ended up, I guess, like everything, taking a little too far. So it ended up, even getting me to where I am today in cryptocurrencies, and seeing that as a solution, and seeing smart contracts be something that has value to the level that, maybe we don't necessarily need a government as much as we thought, as long as we have certain levels of technology and trust the systems. So I would say that that's beginning to now the short version.
Sure.
I could get into a lot of the long version. Was in a rock and roll band, and got signed to an indie label. That was fun. Definitely had more of a political sort of spin to it, but just straight up rock and roll. And actually, my guitarist, after quitting the band and not talking to him for a few years, actually ended up getting me into Bitcoin. So.
Oh, wow. Tell us about that story. How did that all happen?
So we owned a computer business in Boulder, and one of our roadies actually used to manage the computer business, and he ended up buying it from us, and he's still running it, PC Express in Boulder. Go say hi to Andy.
What's up, Andy?
Yeah. All right. So we had this computer business. We were signed to a label, and everything was going pretty well. But money got, I would say, embezzled by the president, and it kind of took the label down. So it wasn't a great time for music. You're looking at the late 2000s. Okay. Everything was going through this, transition into iTunes and everything else
and stuff. Yep.
Yeah. So there was a lot of stuff that just got me to say, you know what, I can't do it anymore. We were together for 6 years and shared everything, bank accounts, clothes, all of it. And
you kind of built a brotherhood, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and it was, and still is, I still talk to these guys quite a bit. And now, but for a few years, it's dicey. You go and you do your own thing. Like I got married and did all my stuff. But, guitarist just called me up one day and said, hey, all that crap we've been talking about for, years and years. And I think I found the solution, and it was Bitcoin. And I was like, I don't know about that. And then all of a sudden I just started asking a ton of questions, and he had an answer for everyone. And after that, I just dug into it and was like, damn, this is the thing. This is for real. If we can nurture this into a good spot, we got something going on here.
Yeah, so how did he find out about it? Who introduced him to the concept, or was he just kind of online, just searching around, or what?
You own a computer business in Boulder, and you see a lot of stuff on people's computers, right?
Yeah.
And there are actually laws around that kind of thing. So if you find something that definitely shouldn't be there, let's say, kiddie porn or something, you're supposed to turn that in and things like that. But we would always work with people regarding, payments and try and help somebody that was in a bind and needed a computer. We all knew how important the internet was. So the manager, I would say this is, late 2016, ended up getting a hold of a bunch of Veritasium and as payment to take care of this laptop. Didn't look at it until about mid 2017, and then shit a brick. So he, obviously they'd been watching that stuff a little bit then, and it just, every single one of us all of a sudden were like, wait, you made a ton of money in this? And then everything was like, well, if it's a certain type of money, it's got to have these certain types of things in order to become valuable, especially on the internet. And security is first and foremost, in my opinion. And that's not just security from hackers, but security from, government. So if somebody is going to be putting out a currency that has anything to do with being a competitor to the Federal Reserve, I mean, look what happened to Gaddafi. So that was one of my first things, like, you got to tell me what I need to know what every attack vector is and what it's doing to circumvent or mitigate these attack surfaces, right? And my questions were answered, and it's been downhill from there. So
yeah, so some people may not know, Eric, what happened to Gaddafi. He was looking to basically circumvent the petrodollar, kind of give people a little, just in case they don't know. Tell them about the whole Gaddafi situation, man.
This is, so real quick, just a quick preliminary thing. When it comes to me looking at data and research and everything else and reading all these, news and fake news and everything else, there's a couple of different things. I mean, obviously you have to do your own research, and nobody should be an authority on anything. You shouldn't be saying, oh, well, NBC said it, so it's good, or Fox News said it, so it's good. You should always be checking sources and doing all that stuff. And in my opinion, you should always counter trade the news. So whatever the news is actually saying, and depending on how loud they're saying it, is the level at which I tend to either believe them, disregard it, or research it more.
Right.
And as far as the Libya thing with Gaddafi, I mean, if you have an actual general saying, oh yeah, I was in the Pentagon, and we're going to take out, after 9/11, we're going to go ahead and take out Iran, Iraq, Syria, Libya, and go down the gambit. Well, it happened just like he said, reasons were different. The news would tell you that Gaddafi was a bastard to his people, and he was killing folk and not being a good guy.
Just like Saddam Hussein. Same script, right?
Yeah. I mean, you can't trust what they're actually telling you, right? So you got to go look it up for yourself. And if you see video of Gaddafi hanging out the sunroof of an SUV and not with a motorcade, and running around the biggest city in all of Libya and waving to the people, yeah, I'm sure there was, certain sects of people that didn't like him, right? And just like we have here. But they obviously had security on lockdown. If he did, all he needed was one SUV, and he could hang out the top of that, sunroof. I tell you, the Pope can't do that. Donald Trump couldn't do that.
Right.
It seems like the people kind of liked him. And from anything I got as far as what they could actually do, what they were getting from the government, free gas, free car, free house, free college,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of that stuff. I'm not a socialist. I wouldn't take, try not to take anything like that. But I mean, in this COVID situation, right? I'm a contractor. I'm taking, unemployment. Why? Because it's there and I've
Exactly.
earned it. And it's the first time that a subcontractor like myself, I've been a subcontractor for a very long time.
Yep.
And it's the first time been offered to us. And I'm a huge
Yeah,
proponent.
I tell people that I've been telling people that since this whole COVID thing happened and they started like doing this unemployment for all, basically. Um, do it, man. Take it if you can. Take it, and it has nothing to do with you being um, supportive of socialism. No, it's just more of a principle thing. Like, look, they've bailed out the Wall Street guys every time. While Rome is burning, I'm gonna take mine while I can and get mine. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, we both know in 2008, yeah, what happened with the whole AIG and everything else. And we can actually get into that because that architecture is what I've heard a lot of people talk about on different podcasts regarding this special purpose vehicle, regarding the Fed and everything else.
Right.
But yeah, as far as I'm concerned with what's going on right now, I'm very lucky because my wife does all of the finances and stuff, works from home, works for a good company, has her job
Good.
100%. She's not throttled in the slightest. So very lucky there. And then the other thing is works from home, has worked from home, and is an overachiever. She doesn't mind filing for me because I wasn't going to do it. I wasn't going to deal with the bureaucracy. I wasn't going to do the paperwork. I would rather go hungry than do that paperwork, man.
Right. No, that's a good team, man. That's what having a wife is about. That's same with me. It's areas that I'm just not gonna do, and she picks up totally in those areas.
Yeah, and I do the same for her, and it is a good partnership, and that's what a good marriage should be.
Yep, absolutely. I want to talk about this gig economy, man. More than ever, is it in danger? I thought that was the new wave, right? Like that was evolution of where we were going. Not saying it was a good thing, but it just was the direction we were going with work in America, especially because these corporations look to extract as much profit from every and anything. That's kind of what the gig economy kind of popped out of that, right? What are you doing though? You're taking a different spin at the gig economy, and that is with like helping people and being more philanthropic with the gig economy. Kind of explain this whole CoolADE thing and that whole initiative that you're building over there.
Yeah. So as it says, gigging and giving for the good of humanity. This is an idea that came from a guy who's tragically no longer with us. He passed away at a cryptocurrency event in Dallas in 2018. But I had been talking to him for a few months because he knew I knew something about cryptocurrency and he wanted to get answers. And it was late 2017, and obviously things were just going bananas. And he wanted to create an ICO, and the coin was going to be all about supporting people who were not just doing good works, but were donating to good causes, basically, right? Mm-hmm. So he actually got back from the Dakota pipeline protests and was like, these people are starving, thirsty, blah blah blah. We wanted to help set up an infrastructure, and he owned a couple of different nonprofits. And when he passed away, the idea kind of was bequeathed to some of the people he knew, including a girlfriend. And they just kind of got me and a couple of the people I was involved with trying to do some crypto consulting, business to business stuff, getting some infrastructure set up to do that. But so the idea is kind of evolved from its original idea. It's a very simple idea. It's a very simple thing. if anybody has something that they want to get done and they need to fund this idea, typically everything we're going to do is going to require supplies or labor, right? Um, and then managing, let's say, funds of getting this cause completed in those two ways get kind of tricky. And when you look at what nonprofits do, typically it's clever accounting tricks to make them seem more nonprofit than they are. You can Red Cross spending 550 million, at least that's what they took in regarding Haiti, and they built 6 houses. So there's this level of or this lack of transparency and accountability and efficiency that happens in nonprofits, where if you were to build a trustless system that they could utilize to track all of their labor, which would be a vendor, or supplies, another vendor, if you looked at it as in like QuickBooks or any accounting software, CRM software, or anything like that. And then their volunteers, they have to have a database for that too. And then the actual software itself, the price involved in all of that, it's very inefficient to actually run a nonprofit. And the best numbers you get, some would say, are at like 96%. I'd be willing to bet that the best sit at somewhere around, high 80s if you're lucky. And nobody is actually checking in on this other than the federal government. And a couple of for-profit entities, a lot like the Better Business Bureau. So in what I've seen in my research, we could be doing so much more for what is legitimately one of the best things somebody could do, is get themselves to a point in their life where they feel like they can actually help other people. And in donating for companies or nonprofit entities like the Red Cross and stuff, and then to see this level of just waste, fraud, and abuse, it's a pretty ugly thing. And crypto does offer an ability to, I guess, turn the pyramid of power on its head. So to be able to give a level of privacy to a user, as in a donor or somebody that's gigging, right? As well as take the idea of transparency, and instead of the donor having to be transparent in all of their stuff and transparent in their volunteer hours and transparent in all of their stuff, and the nonprofit actually being able to hide a bunch of money and play these accounting games and do the stuff that they need to do while we can't look at their books. I mean, to me, that whole system needs to be flipped on its head in order for us to actually get good work done, Yeah. So that's the basic premise of this entire thing, is to give anybody, whether they're in crypto or not, the ability to manage a project well, and then be able to show their efficiencies, show what it took to A, get the job done, and B, show any government entity that may ask or that they may want to volunteer that data for. They can report it very quickly, very easily, and anybody can utilize this software for free. So it's.
So what is it built on? So you before you answer that, so you are the co-creator of this autonomous donation engine. Kind of explain how you came up with that and what is it built on? Ethereum, yes, I'm assuming.
Well, so no. Nexus, actually.
Okay.
We're working with Nexus, Colin and Paul.
Nice.
But
why did you pick Nexus over Ethereum? Or any other? It doesn't necessarily be Ethereum.
We were actually going with a couple of different. We were going to go with multiple. We really like the idea and the people behind Holochain. We're working with some of them for a little bit, just in kind of seeing where the idea could go, and looking at the technology and seeing how far along they were going to be. Didn't really see that becoming a full scale entity as far as like something you could even run beta on. at a good enough level, and I don't think that's going to happen for at least a couple years.
And
But
you're referring to Holochain?
yeah,
Okay.
Holochain, yep. And to be honest, I mean, Art Brock at Holochain is one of the, you know, in my opinion, foremost experts in currencies,
Mm-hmm.
and has done a lot of work in currencies, and set up a good team there and everything else. It's a very complicated build what they're trying to do. So when I ended up meeting actually in, January of this year, I was in Miami with Rice at the
Mm-hmm.
crypto, the blockchain Miami thing, and met with Colin. Somebody had tried to get me, in touch with him earlier and said, you guys really need to talk and make some crypto babies here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and finally, it just ended up having a conversation with Colin, and it turns out that 90% of my project is pretty much built. The stuff that he's planning on doing, the stuff that he's scaling into, parallels directly with a lot of the stuff that we're going to need. The level of advancement in what they do is insane. I do believe one of their dApps, if you look at Rice's channel, I think he just did an interview with Colin, another one, and they've actually been able to put together decentralized applications that didn't even require code. So just copy paste. You didn't have to
That's
code
where
it.
we need to get, man.
Yeah, and
That's where we
that's
need to get.
a lot of people would say that adoption is going to take place when we educate people, and I don't necessarily disagree, but it's not a black and white thing. It's a gray
Mm-hmm.
scale, right?
Yep.
So if you're talking about DeFi, we're not going to get people in until somebody creates the first crypto bank, and Coinbase is working on that on their end for sure. I don't agree with them. Not
Yeah,
a big
but Coinbase is more of again, the Wall Street extraction of wealth type of model. You
Yeah,
know, they've been
exactly.
funded by VCs. They've got, they're going to have an exit strategy where they all make millions when they do an ICO or
Yeah.
IPO, I should say. You know the game.
Yeah, actually, it's funny. Rice ended up sending me a link today, this afternoon, and it's some sort of donation on Coinbase, donatecrypto.org or something like that, not to boost them up. But if you want to go see what they're doing with this, go through their FAQ. It's pretty entertaining um, to see what they're doing with the crypto, and even the questions they answer, like, can we, put our money to wherever we want it to go? And it says, nope, you can't. We decide. It goes to our ambassadors wherever we want it. But yeah, feel free to donate.
Mm,
You can look it up on the blockchain. Well, yeah, you can see it go from address to address, but it doesn't mean it's actually going to the person that it needs to go to. It's going to an
exactly.
ambassador, an ambassador's address. So, I mean, it. I think the crypto space has been awesome for donations, right? So for a long time, I think Antonopoulos was saying before 2017, over 60% of all Bitcoin transactions were donations, right? And that's a hard statistic to nail down because you can't tell, there's no sales tax records to bounce that stuff off of. But we all know that the crypto community will donate, to a lot of different people. So I mean, yeah, those numbers may not be the exact number, but we can speculate that the crypto, people like to do good. And the only thing that sucks is we don't know what good anybody's doing if we don't have the trustless systems in place and the smart contracts in place to actually prove all of that stuff.
Right.
Right now, we rely on federal government to do that. We rely on, like I said before, for-profit entities, the Better Business Bureau, things like that, to say, oh yeah, they're rated A plus. Thanks. That's like
Right.
Google saying, oh yeah, your website is a B plus. Well, yeah, it could be an A plus if I gave you, $4,000 a month.
Right.
You know,
Right.
Same thing happens with the BBB.
Yep.
So
Yep.
nonprofit is not too far, in my opinion.
Yeah, so yeah, I agree, man. So do you think like with your platform, CoolADE, have you guys been able to, kind of get any companies, any organizations on board yet, or you're just getting started with that whole
So we spent a lot of time the last 2 years going over the ifs,
Mm-hmm.
So what would you consider? What would you consider? Legal, right? Is letting somebody who may be in a state that doesn't allow for the consumption of marijuana, is that something where you should help promote that? Absolutely, in my opinion. But could somebody potentially utilize your platform to hire a contract killer? You know,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and to be honest with you, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it potentially, yes. It would be stupid. I mean, you're gonna get caught with that for
Mm-hmm.
sure.
Mm-hmm.
Utilizing the platform, but trying to figure out what was going to happen regarding something like that. How do you maintain privacy regarding data and actual events or causes being created or completed, payments, things like that? How do you make that completely transparent but also compliant to 501c3 reporting and the necessity thereof, or 1099? If any 501c3 nonprofit corporation wants to pay you to go clean a river, you have to be looked at as a vendor. And if they want to be able to, just like me as a subcontractor, if I don't want to pay your taxes, I have to have that 1099 information and I have to write that off. So there are all these little realms, that these little common spaces where somebody in the nonprofit industry could definitely see a benefit of utilizing this platform, whether it be for the transparency or the efficiency or the fact that they don't have to buy any software and it's free. They would want to use that. Now, we're starting to get people onboarded for the alpha process regarding testing. So we'd like
Mm-hmm.
to be able to take nonprofits, whether large or small, and kind of customize this, or actually customize ourselves to their necessities and their needs without compromising what needs to be done regarding data, stuff like that. So trying to do this dance and design these things around all of that has been like top priority for about 2 years now. And now we're getting to the point where we're going through requirements docs, which are basically the next point into sending everything out to a team of developers. The thing is we haven't taken a penny on anything
Mm-hmm.
yet. We've done everything out of pocket. All of it has not been funded. We haven't done anything regarding funding yet. And immediately right now, as we sit, we are going to start taking in donations. I saw you had the website up earlier. Change Angel was kind enough to help us out. If you go to that manual causes page, the second button. That's the one. You should see. Yep, there it is. So that will let you donate in 17 different currencies to a multi-sig wallet that is handled by 5 people, needs 3 signatures. And the first thing we're doing is feeding homeless in Asheville here, depending on how much we actually get. But the beauty of it is it's actually giving us all of the little steps or problems that happen within the crypto space, as far as what technology we have now. Even getting 5 people together and to be able to download a wallet that they've never used and do all of that stuff, that logistics just took weeks. So people are busy,
Yep.
and just logging all of these issues and seeing what it takes to actually do something like this in the form of a manual cause, we would call it, instead of autonomous donation engine. We're logging all of these things down that are not only just proving the model, but also bringing up questions that we need to answer.
Sure.
And that's the trick to programming. You have
Yeah,
to.
so like how I think the biggest issue that you guys are going to run into is trying to get organizations, nonprofits that don't use crypto. to on board? Help us understand. I think that's going to be your biggest hurdle. It's going to be on the sales side.
Well,
Not so. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, not necessarily. In my opinion, the Satoshi white paper, right? It enticed people to utilize a currency that wasn't affected or controlled by any centralized. Well, we should say that in quotes. It wasn't really controlled by any centralized authority, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in currency swaps, whether you're trading forex or you're gonna, let's say even trade, derivatives in the stock market.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to see this thing where good money always eats bad money, right? People will spend the bad money first and they'll save the good money, right?
Mm-hmm.
So our idea was to take that same kind of model and actually entice businesses to be good by simply taking away their funding. You as a donor would rather donate to somebody who's 100% transparent and you could prove it. 100% transparent, you could prove it. Smart logic statement, math, the same way you try. If you could prove exactly what was done and how efficient these people are, you would donate to them first. I've listened to quite a few. Even Dax Shepard has a podcast that my wife listens to, and we were going down to South Carolina this last weekend, and I was listening, and they did a really cool study. Not them personally, but they were talking about a study done that showed that people got more enjoyment out of giving money than buying something for themselves, A. And B, if they did give the money away, they actually enjoyed giving to something where they could see the work be done, not just some, big entity, USAID or, Red Cross, things like that. But there was actually difference, a quantifiable difference in they felt about the way they spent their money. And it turns out that, if people like to give to something when they can and they get more enjoyment than buying a pair of shoes, that's awesome. That's good for us. And then if they like being able to see where their money goes and how it affects people at a micro level, instead of just donating to this big thing and going, oh, I kind of helped at this macro level, they actually get a lot more enjoyment out of it. So the enticement is natural. It's something that just kind of happens in our brain automatically. Obviously,
I guess I was talking about more so from the nonprofit organization. So if I'm a nonprofit, right, and I want to raise funds for a good cause, but it's coming to me in Bitcoin or crypto, I don't know how to use that. I don't know how to make that into.
You don't have to.
Okay, explain a little bit.
Okay, so with that Change Angel widget, you might not notice it, but that goes directly into we have it set up to go into a Bitcoin wallet. Okay, so 17 different currencies can go directly in there, immediately be exchanged for Bitcoin and put into the Bitcoin wallet. Obviously, It relies on, the same, the same mechanics regarding, Bitcoin's block time, right? Confirmations, stuff like that. So the same idea in this is the same idea as what we're planning on doing. So if I made a cause that said, I want to clean a river, right? And I put that out there to be crowdfunded. I need 10,000. I make this thing in dollars. I want this thing to not only just be donated in any currency whatsoever, but I want this thing to be operated in US dollars. It will automatically exchange all of those things and then deposit those into an escrow bank account in US dollars. If you want to do it in Bitcoin, cool. We could be cleaning the same river in two different causes, one on Bitcoin, one on US dollars, or somebody from So the idea is to give people all of the options, to not hitch our cart to one horse and just say, oh, we're going to utilize Packcoin or we're going to utilize Bitcoin or Litecoin. No, these people should be able to use free market and their voluntarist right to use whatever they want, whatever currency it is. And it's just going to be like the expectations are going to be.
I missed that part about it being converted into and ACH'd over to a bank account. So that's cool. That makes sense. because they're going to need that. They're not going to be spending or paying for goods and services using Bitcoin or crypto. They don't. I mean, you know what I'm saying? At this point, most nonprofits aren't even that tech savvy to do something like that. So that's great that you'll have that bridge.
Yeah, exactly. So let's build that bridge. Again, adoption doesn't happen with the bridges we have now regarding the technology. Somebody's going to have to build the bridge that makes sense. Whether this is Divi or it's Ethereum or it's anybody else. As far as DeFi is concerned, whoever puts together the best product should win out. As far as we're concerned, let all products win out. So we could have an entire camp again that wants to clean a river that just does nothing but XRP. Those people are rabid. Mm-hmm. They're going to go to that. Mm-hmm. So there's obviously a lot of people that want to do that can't use cryptocurrency, right? Maybe you're in a state like New York where you just can't use crypto. We don't want to just not be able to help them. We want to be able to help everybody. But a lot of people have asked me, even Colin from Nexus is like, I don't even know why you're going down this fiat currency route. It's going to be difficult and blah blah blah. It's like, well, they need the most transparency. Ones that are being able to utilize the system to destroy the system of charitable donations, and made it in a way that they see fit. And I think we'd all be shocked to see how much work could actually be done if we knew exactly where each dollar went, or we knew exactly where each Bitcoin went regarding nonprofit and donations. So,
yeah, the only thing is, like, when it does get to that fiat side, that's where the cord is cut. If I have an organization and I get the coins in Bitcoin or any other crypto, I see it on the blockchain, but once it gets to my bank account as an organization, and now the cord is kind of cut, right?
Not necessarily. A lot of things are being done technology-wise right now to, instead of create stable coins regarding a basket of currencies, let's say, or some people like, let's say Coinbase. Coinbase, all of a sudden, the market's and they start throttling your ability to sell your Bitcoin. Well, that's because they're playing in the derivatives market, right? So they're not completely solvent. So the way they solve that issue is the same way the stock market solves that issue, and that's being a little bit faster than the next person. That in the 90s, the big rush regarding the biggest investment you could make was actually the land rush on Wall Street. The closer you could get
to that exchange, the
closer you could get to that exchange, the better it was. So this idea of taking a timestamp of being able to run this kind of weird arbitrage in order to make sure you stay solvent and create this stable coin that's, again, I mean, you've said it, 70% is better than the Federal Reserve, but it's still still not one for one.
Right.
And we're starting to see, I think with conversations I've had, the necessities of our platform, just talking to the people at like Nexus and Change Angel and some other people, and not even knowing some of the other projects that are happening right now that are asking for the same thing was very validating. Because all of a sudden I get a call from Colin that's like, hey, we're actually going to do that, and we're really looking into it, and just want to let you know you're not the only one. And all of a sudden it was like, okay, so now you see a use for a pegged currency that's one-to-one, whether it's a pegged currency for Litecoin or a pegged currency for Bitcoin, and it's operating within this closed system where those representations can't leave that system and go be traded on a secondary or tertiary exchange system. Then you'll see a level of success and even compliance and regulatory compliance that isn't even around now. And like I said, as a farm kid, I would love to see like corn. We can trade corn on futures contracts right now. And there's so many things that go into subsidies and everything else But wouldn't it be cool if it was tokenized where you had Iowa corn, right? And you knew what county it came from, you knew the soil content. It was all just tokenized within that one little, representation, and it couldn't be exchanged without this and this and this, and they can do whatever they want to do with it, and blah blah blah. But you have that data, you have that feedback loop that makes everything more efficient. Just being able to spend $1 means, oh yeah, I spent $1 over there. Look, paid the taxes on it. That you get for information. And then you have manipulations in the market due to the lack of data and the lack of transparency of that data. So it's, and those are the things that are making, decisions on how efficient they should be, right? So, I mean, we're not the most efficient country in the world. And I think with this technology, we could be. We very well could, learn how to farm again due to the different feedback loops. And I'm not just advocating crypto is going to fix farming. I mean, I think crypto could fix just about every industry. I mean, the right on time delivery system, that needs to be fixed. And we're seeing that with the COVID,
Yeah, speaking of COVID, man, I mean, the widening of the wealth gap is occurring and it's being accelerated with this virus. And I don't know if we have time today. I'll probably have you on for an actual off the chain episode. You'll be a co-host so we can talk more about the COVID thing. Because this guy here, you guys out there who think this is a hoax or not as bad, he's the one. So we're going to have him on and talk about that in the future. But I want to talk about the widening of the wealth gap today. I mean, at the time of recording, we got the Dow Jones up another 500 points. We're back above 25,000. And, it's not looking good, man. More and more, I think unemployment is at like 39 million, something like that. What do you think is going to happen? Are we getting to the point where society is going to break? Are we getting fed up? I'm hearing more and more people that aren't really keeping their ears to the markets and stuff. They're starting to get pissed off. Like everyday cats that I smoke cigars with and stuff, they're starting to really get pissed off about what's going on. What are you seeing in your hometown or where you're at and your colleagues?
Yeah, so I am not by any means a COVID is a hoax guy, right? Right when this came out, I counter traded the news, like I said before, said there's a good possibility it's the flu with better marketing, right? So let's see how this plays out. Mm-hmm. And
of course, guys, when we start talking COVID, the connection just literally just goes out. We've been fine the whole time.
We didn't even talk about China.
Woo. Man. This is why I do pre-recorded, so I'll make sure I splice that up. But that lets you know, Eric, man, this is some deep stuff, bro.
Man,
deep stuff.
I thought I got CNN. Like, who was that? James Baker, or I can't remember who it was. When he was on CNN, getting asked a couple of questions, and all of a sudden, doink, gone, never to be seen again.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Wow. So where were we, man?
So you had just said, you're like, if there's anybody like who thinks COVID's a hoax, definitely.
Well, yeah, hoax. I kind of was being hyperbolic about it, but yeah.
So I'm of the camp that says right off the bat, data was terrible. Anybody that had to make a decision that actually mattered, in my opinion, I think I even told you, I would hope that Trump had better intelligence than we had, because that was ridiculous.
What is that about, though, man? Do you think that I don't think you're a Trump fan, but I feel like maybe they kind of withheld information internally so that he would react late.
Well,
I don't know. It was just weird.
It is. So I kept, Rice and I we were talking once a day. And he was like, dude, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? And I'm at home, building my Airbnb because I got nothing else to do. And luckily I got paid to finish up my Airbnb. That was awesome. But every day it was like, I can't tell anybody anything about this until I have the data. Until I have data I can trust, I'm not willing to go out on a limb. So I'm willing to say right now that correlation does not equal causation when it comes to the stuff that we're getting. Um, I think that you have two options if you're, the legacy news. Um, you're either going to have to say that Trump was ridiculously lucky that he saved 1.9 million people, depending on the numbers that came out of the WHO and the CDC when this started. Mm-hmm. You got to legitimately say, like, holy cow, we thought it was going to be 2 million people dying. It's now 100,000, depending on who you're getting those numbers through. CDC just came back and cut their numbers, I think, again by half the last couple of days. And so you're trying to, in my opinion, you're trying to trust people that are in these institutions that we know with absolute certainty that power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. There's a level of corruption that is involved in a lot of the biggest institutions that we rely on for this type of data, and to be able to, make decisions that would help in these types of situations. And I honestly believe that they failed, or they meant to fail. Maybe, I don't know. That would be speculation.
But, it's all it's speculation on my end as well. I have no proof of it, but I would just think you spend billions of dollars on agencies like the NSA and CIA, and they can cut our signal off when we start talking about it, but they didn't know what was going on back in November when this thing kind of started. I don't know. It's a little suspect to me, Eric.
Yeah, absolutely. The whole situation, in my opinion, is suspect. I know that you're having a different go of it than me.
Yeah. Here. No, but I like what you said about taking the counter trading what the news says, and so that's what I did initially. I counter traded. They downplayed it. Hey, yes, this is nothing. It's just whatever. I'm like, nah. I'm looking at. I mean, you got various sources from China. They wouldn't lock down their country if it wasn't a virus that was serious. They're fully capitalistic society. Right. And from the standpoint of making money, they're not capitalists, but they want to make money and extract as much wealth from their people as possible.
And the world, yeah.
And the world. So for them to shut down, I'm like, dude, something's going on here.
Yeah, and here's the funny thing is, and you again, numbers. You have to trust the source and consider them some sort of authority on their numbers, and you have to try and get this data that surrounds it, corroborating the story that is their numbers, right? In my opinion, anyway, it's what I do with just about everything I come across, including the Q movement. But this idea that China in Wuhan, the actual province of China, was locked down for, I want to say it was 76 days.
Yeah, and then 2 months, something like that, yeah.
Yeah, but did you look at all the other provinces? 16 days.
Yeah.
The surrounding provinces were 16 days locked down, that's it. So what did they do? Did they lock down travel between Wuhan and all of their other provinces while they let 5 million people travel from Wuhan all over the world? Like, that's an interesting question that I would love to hear the answer to, and I don't ever think I will.
So what are you saying? You're saying that they didn't lock down the provinces around, or they did?
Well, no, they were locked down for 16 days. But travel regarding those provinces were not locked down. So you could travel from province to province as long as it wasn't
to Wuhan, though, right?
As long as it wasn't to Wuhan, and you can actually see extensions of their lunar.
But you could say, Eric, that them locking and putting a firewall around Wuhan was the very reason why they didn't see as much of an outbreak in the other provinces. Now, my question and the suspicion that arises with me is that why would you lock down Wuhan but still allow international flights out from Wuhan to other countries? That's where I'm like, okay, you guys are. You saw something happen in your country, and you want everyone else to suffer with you. That's my conclusion and what I came to. What's yours? I know you're probably a little different.
It is. It's nothing but speculation.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Same here.
In my opinion, I even had to as somebody that was interested in like martial arts and Japanese and Chinese culture and stuff like that, I had already known that like the Han Dynasty, or what you would call now Wuhan, were very fierce warriors, some of the best in all of China. And that was a place where the warrior culture is strong even to this day. And you can't deny that, you know, culture wins all the time. You know, in America, culture wins. It doesn't matter if you go to certain areas of LA, you're going to see culture differences depending on what, you know, area you go into. And those are going to hold true for a certain period of time until everybody kind of forgets their history and stuff. Well, China doesn't, I mean, their traditions are thick. And you know, the way they do things is very different from us. They're very collectivist instead of individualistic, and everything has to do with the family, even the way they pass their names down, stuff like that. So, you know, I mean, I can say, again, causation or correlation doesn't equal causation, but I can say that they, you know, have a certain culture that would say very willing to go the extra mile, let's just say. And they were, you know, let out by the tune of 5 million people to go internationally, but not to the rest of China. That's just, it leaves questions to be answered. And I don't want to say it was, and again, this is why I say I don't think we'll ever know, because that would start that third world war if you found out. I mean, we can already say I think the study just came out of Australia, we can already say that this virus was
engineered. Go ahead and say it, E.
It's man-made. This thing is man-made.
Absolutely, man.
And now, whether we can't speculate whether it was put out, you know, on purpose or not.
So that's the thing. I don't think it was leaked on purpose, but it was engineered, in my opinion. Again, just my opinion. No, I don't have too much facts behind it, but it doesn't seem like this would be something that would. I mean, okay. This is not benefiting China right now. Would you agree with me on that, as far as its world stage and its political relationships with other countries? Everyone's pretty much turning their backs to China.
Well, I think in today's, you know, society, the news, a lot of stuff, a lot of information, the internet itself has done a really good job of making sure everything seems black and white, right?
Yeah, it never is.
No, this dichotomy, right? Well, is it good for China? Well, who are you in China, right? We should ask those questions. Is it good for the CCP? No. Maybe they thought it was when it started, but is it now? Probably not. I mean, the protests.
You know what I heard?
Hong Kong.
You know what I heard? I heard that. So there's two kind of like factions within the CCP, and the one that doesn't like Xi, they run the Wuhan laboratory situation over there.
Weird. What?
So what I'm saying is they could have set up and done some stuff, and this is all speculation. I'm just theorizing here. They could have gone behind Xi to get him out, literally to leak the virus and make him look horrible. We just never know. We never will. I'm just throwing out stuff for people to think about.
I mean, it's really interesting that you have Trump, the bull in a china shop, is the first president to ever say, hey, yeah, we want to get some money in return. You know, we're selling all this stuff out, pennies on the dollar, and nobody's asked you, like, hey, how come this trade deal sucks for us so bad? And they end up asking.
That's another element. Absolutely. It's not coincidence that, like you said, you got a president that's changing. He's flipping the whole thing, man. I've never seen this happen since we did the whole NAFTA thing, right? It's been.
You know, you said it before. I'm really not, you know, I don't care who the president is. I have a moral, I think it's morally destitute to think that one person can govern over another within this capacity that we see now, our current paradigm. I think that's ridiculous. We should have a level of freedom and be autonomous in ways that we have probably never seen, and I would doubt that any of our grandparents have ever seen. I think that we need to go back to that way. That's probably the only way I think we should ever go backwards. But to say that, you know, Trump is not doing a good job on this is an interesting thing to say. In my opinion, any president that in a crisis deregulates more than they regulate in accordance with freedom, I've never seen that in my lifetime. And when I look at history, I don't think I've ever seen it before.
Yeah, no, I
It's an
agree.
interesting way to solve a problem, isn't it?
It is, man. It is. And, I think what needs to happen in our country, we need to change the term levels for our presidents, because what happens is the presidents only have at max 8 years, but the deep state has a whole lifetime. The deep state,
Well,
the deep state has a whole lifetime career in Washington with their, from it can be from, I can't remember who I was watching, man, and he explained really what the deep state was, and it is. It's not like some secret society of like a group of people. It's more so a group of people in different departments in the government. They have lifelong careers and lifelong alliances with various people in the organization.
yeah. A lot of those, I don't know if you've ever looked it up, but it's called the SES. And I can barely remember. It's like special. I can never remember what the name is because you never hear it. According to what I've seen, there's a level of government official that you get to where all of a sudden you're assigned somebody that's in a 3-letter agency that none of us really know about, where that's your counterpart. So now, in order for you to do your job in the CIA, you have a guy that's right here, right on top of you from the SES.
Mm.
And those are, from what I understand anyway, that's the 7th floor is what it was called. Peter Stroke is SES,
Okay.
and confirmed that is SES. And it's, for the most part, would be considered a shadow government.
Yep.
Lifelong appointments in
Mm-hmm.
different places, and these are documented things. Like, these are all declassified. We're seeing a lot of cool stuff being declassified that I never thought I would see, and I knew as soon as I started to see the stuff that I had thought about back in the day, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
seeing it now. That was kind of like a best way to say it is a Cliff High style temporal marker, right?
Right. Right.
So you
Right.
have this marker that says, okay, as soon as I see this, wow, like, I never thought anybody would disclose that level of information. But I said the same thing about Trump at the beginning of his presidency when he didn't release all of the JFK files. They were eligible to be released, and he released a lot of them, but left the good parts to himself for some reason. And I don't know what it is. I have a
Right.
hunch, but I can't wait for the rest of that to get out. I think
Man.
we'll find out more about the Bush family than we actually thought.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bush and Clinton too. I can't. Man, that Clinton family is another whole hour of conversation we will have to have. I want to have you back on, Eric, to talk about the Q thing. I'm not a big fan of Q and don't really know much about it, but the stuff that I hear, I'm like, man, get out of here, get this on my face. But I definitely want to hear your side of the coin when it comes to Q and all of that. But
It's
it was a pleasure having you on, man, today. And you
yeah.
guys make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and click that bell to receive more interviews like this. We're gonna rock out to this Rage Against the Machine.
Yes.
Get out of here, people. How?